Hello everybody, and welcome back to the LJL Officially Unofficial, bringing you coverage of the LJL Round 3. Game 2. DFM. Sengoku Gaming. DFM now have side selection, gentlemen, and I'm thinking, quickly, we're probably not going to be seeing a Skana top locked in first pick again. I think that was a little bit aggressive.
I think aggressive is a word for it. I think accidental might be another.
Who knows?
And again, like, we don't know for certain, but looking at reactions, looking at gameplay, that feels fairly likely. It wasn't pretty for Sengoku Gaming.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
A lot of the early games went wrong.
Yeah, a lot of the early game went heavily in Detonation FocusMe's favor, and that was partly not due to the Skana, though it was also technically due to the Skana, because Ebby was able to just stand unite everywhere over the match, Nymera.
Yeah, the first two big plays besides that gank in bot lane were completely either enabled or nullified by Ebby Stand United. There was the gank bot lane, we talked about that, and then there was Sengoku trying to fish for a kill into Heimerdinger in the mid lane. Yeah, well, Stan United does a lot of work on low health targets. And then bot lane happened when Gang is going forwards, comes in with a Shen on top of him, punishes NC, and suddenly that's a couple of plays which Skana has no way to really deal with. Even if you stun the Shen, the shield still goes through, right? The top diff was pretty big just in terms of how could they impact the map, just in terms of the champions they picked.
But, go for it.
Sorry, no, I was just going to say, I was just looking over at the official stream. They got the damage graphs up, and it's a 10,000 damage difference between the top laners. And obviously that's tanky to tank, but you expect a bit more there.
Yeah, I mean, at least it is somewhat made better, I guess, by Zoe Empyrean in that mid lane. 20k of damage. That is something we did highlight. Obviously, Empyrean was landing a lot of bubbles, was getting a few kills. It's where Nymera even highlighted that there was an avenue, there was an option and a chance for Sengoku to do that until a little Mountain Drake came along.
Yeah. I think it's one of the hallmarks of DFM at their best is how they play around dragons and objectives, because they play really well around zoning and then engaging on very slim windows of opportunity. We saw that from Utapon ending up hitting the skill shots when some of Sengoku weren't. And even though Pyrian played pretty well and ended up putting out a lot of damage on that Zoe, it just wasn't enough to kind of deal with DFM playing a very good zoning comp with Heimerdinger with turrets and then the threat of the Solar Flare all in. And that's why DFM got a lot of those dragons and won most of the fights around them.
Yeah, and from that, DFM were able to just snowball the game. It was very clean, in all seriousness, by DFM in that game. But now the question becomes, outside of the Skana, which I'll stop memeing on for this point, where do Sengoku go? Because if I was them, gentlemen, in all seriousness, I've played competitive games before. I would be kind of tilted if I was Sengoku. What can they do to reset? Are you expecting them to do maybe coming out of this game?
So I think two things for me.
Okay.
I'm sure Namera's got his own thoughts on this, but one is get a top lane champion that will be have more agency and can teleport bot, because it is looking like it's going to be a bot side focus game, but you need a champion that can turn up and affect things bot. When you've got a player like Abman who does play high variance, and you know that DFM are looking to play around there, or at least counter around there, have something that can join you. Second thing as well is track where Steel is, because they got out by Steel being in places, got a bit rough with it.
And for me, a lot of that comes from level 1. Of course, they're level 1. They had their jungle starts tracked, and the enemy did not.
Level 1's sensible top lane. There may be some area of effect with agency around getting the map. Gentlemen, we're into the pick and ban phase, so take it away.
Thank you again, Mass Swan. DFM ain't changing anything up here. It's Twisted Fate. It's Orianna off table and away from Pyrian. Orianna is one we haven't really seen a lot of in the LJL, despite it's kind of a rising priority elsewhere. Zoe's the final ban, and it's just focusing on what Pyrian can play in mid and he's good at.
And I think a lot of that is because out of our top mid laners, two of them, or at least the two which I can think of, don't play the Orianna. I think Pyrian plays it, and so does Dasher from the Hawks. But I know that Saras doesn't play it.
Yeah.
Arya really doesn't play it either.
Yeah.
And they're some of our laners which really have a lot of emphasis put towards them in draft. DFM have favored this center so highly. It is a first pick. Maybe that's what Sengoku were trying to first pick, and they picked the Skarner.
Well, yes, it's not. It's center first pick. It's not Skarner. Yusorimashi would go back potentially to his Jin here. It has been a favor, but they'll instead go towards the Lilia, which I am pretty excited to see here in the hands of Blank.
Okay, so V3 were first picking this or early rotationing it. Question is, what kind of comp have Sengoku cooked up to enable and support this Lilia? Because she can't be the sole front line. She also needs something to follow up on her sleep as well. It's not the sleepy trouble bubble, it's not Zoe, but you do need to make sure that there are things which are playing into the hands of Lilia.
Jim with the deadly flourish, not bad. Secondary follow up there, so that's something. That's a start. Good utility there. Hell Curtain Call to keep people slowed down for Lily to run around and blooming blow them is certainly good options. DFM though are saying, well, okay, we see you, Lilia, but you've still left the Heimerdinger open, and until you prove you can deal with it, we'll just pick it every time.
Remember in spring, this was the champion which was banned away so much from DFM. So I played it twice in spring. The first time was the very first game of the split versus V3, who are now winning in the finals. And then they played it in the finals versus Sengoku when it was unbanned, and they ended up winning that game 1 of the finals. And Sam's laughing because, of course, the Skarner is being hovered. Please, please do not lock that in. It's not going to be. It's going to be Gangs Leona. It's going to be Gangs Leona once more. Been really, really good on that pick. As we've said, it helps them in the 2v2, and it really helps them in the team fights.
Could you imagine if Ebby locked in and took it top lane just for the straight BM? It won't be that as well. They have gone towards Alonia, as you mentioned, but of course, Pyrian's Azir is something he has put a lot of time into and largely looked pretty good on. Locked in here versus Saros Heimerdinger. There are some outplay patterns where you can shuffle Heimer and all his turrets.
Actually, this is a hark back to those spring finals. Game 1, it was the Heimerdinger versus the Azir. Pyrian was really outlaning Saros. He was shuffling him back into Blank, killing him a number of times. But they still didn't win that game because DFM, as we said, a hallmark of their greatness when they have been on form is how they play around zoning around their turrets and how they use that to just force the enemy team out of the river. DFM are setting up for that again. 3 out of the 5 champions they have they played in game 1 have been locked in already, and now they're through to the second round of bans.
NT's Morgana again taken away. See what the response is here as well. They obviously got rid of the Olaf, which still looked pretty good on it. It was a good tanky front line, a lot of early agency. Probably not bad into Lilia.
Yeah, I was about to say, you can just ignore the Lilia role. That's a big thing.
See what the last couple picks here are as well. I imagine there'll be a continued support focus to kind of enable Gangs Leona, and it's a Hecarim here as well, which has been another one of those high priority horses alongside the Lilia. Centaur people. Sorry, that was probably a better way of phrasing that, but there we go. The other centaur off the table. And
I'd say, pretty sure that Lilia isn't a horse person, she's a deer person.
Okay, I mean, is she still a centaur at that point? Because like,
oh, don't ask me about the anatomy of mythical beasts, Sam. I'm not entirely sure.
Okay, because I mean, like, I know people are saying fawn, but fawns generally have 2 legs, from what I remember. So I'm confused.
No, satyr, you mean?
Satyr, I think they're the
satyr are 2 years.
Are they not? Are they not like? So that's goat. That's people goat legs.
Yeah, but that's still like the people with 2 legs.
I thought fawns. Okay, well anyway, someone go and Google up your mythological creatures and tell me what's going on there. Either way. Potentially looking at the Nautilus lock-in to
the
join up
mythological
with
beast
the
of NT's Nautilus. No, we see this a lot. It's actually quite a common commodity heading back towards another company.
So much CC in that bot side.
The Bard, of course, was banned away from NT, and actually Bard and Morgana have been 2 of NT's best champions. He ended up playing the Bard in that Juggernaut match, though, between them and V3, and he didn't look so good on it. Whereas before, we were talking about, hey, what's a potential first pick? We talked about junglers. Nidalee was on that list. They've locked in the Shen too. Something that's Taunt into Spear combo. Not awful to play around topside either.
You can play around grenades in mid lane. You can play around Leona's vast amount of CC in bot. You've got good options here for Nidalee. And Sengoku Gaming themselves now hovering that Skarner pick. If you lock it in, we'll know it wasn't a mistake.
We will. They aren't doing that.
No.
Thank you very, very much. It's the Gnar coming out. And actually, the one game which Sengoku won against V3 is a 3-1 loss was when Aquaman just became too much to handle on the Gnar. He got stupidly far ahead against a Volibear top lane, someone that can't really deal with the Gnar. I think that Shen deals with Gnar better. And Ebby, he plays like he did in game 1. He played very confidently. I have some hope for him to make this matchup a bit more interesting than, unfortunately, Paz's Volibear could.
Yes, that's probably the way to look at it. We'll see how it goes on. Noodly and Lilia here as well. Those are two hyper fast farming junglers. Both destroy raptors in matters of seconds. Jurassic Park got it wrong. The real predators are the junglers, not the raptors. And I'll be curious to see how these guys get on, because a Lilia in the mid game that gets ahead can be an absolute terror. But in Nidalee in the early game, pretty strong as well. And, there's a lot of time that Steel has put into that champion.
So the full drafts have been put through. This is the first time we've seen Lilia out of blank. Didn't see it in the Juggernaut match. As we said, it was Boogie on V3 who played it the most. I think it was either banned or picked by... So it was either banned away from him or picked by him the entirety of that series. So now we get a chance to see how blank, one of the other best junglers in the LJL, can perform with it. Game 1 did not shine a good light upon the entirety of Sengoku, but for me, particularly on blank, he was outthought, outpathed, caught out around a very important mountain dragon for the first blood. Number of things. He needs to step up, but at least he's got a champion which seems to be powerful enough to give him the agency to do so.
So you've seen the draft. It's pretty standard 4-1 from Sengoku. Nara's kind of that secondary front line if he gets the Mega Nara alongside the Nautilus. DFM standard on the other side. It's another big team fight comp with the Shen able to turn up. Pretty similar, honestly, to their Game 1 drafts. Whose draft are you favouring here coming into this Game 2?
I think it's relatively even in the draft because of the fact that actually both are not the easiest drafts to execute upon. I think that DFM are very well practiced with the Heimerdinger, but Nidalee is not an easy champion to play in team fights.
No.
So you can start playing it around with the poke battle, stuff like that. But on the other side, not easy to team fight around. Lilia, also not the easiest champion ever. It's made easier when you can use that, just the press of a button, I have CC on my ultimate from Lilia. But I think I am very much liking the Shen out of DFM. I'm liking the Heimerdinger. They're looking very practiced with both these picks, and they're both strong picks too. So for me, I think once again, I'm going to give over to DFM. Leona as well for Gang, always very, very scary.
Okay. That said, I'll play a little bit of devil's advocate here for Sengoku Gaming. They've got themselves a proper top laner. They've got themselves the new tech in the
Wait, the checklist.
They've got themselves Pyrion onto the Azir. That's great stuff for Sengoku Gaming. And yeah, Game 1 was pretty shocking. Yeah, it might be a bit tilting, but this is a chance to reset. This is a chance to show them, okay, this is what we meant to do. They give themselves a handicap, but I'm hoping at the very least we see more competitive outcomes. Hell, they've got a comp which they could definitely pull out a win on. And I wouldn't be entirely surprised to see it at all.
Hey, well, we are just waiting to get onto the rift so you get to see our faces for a little bit. The thing is, Game 1, not the highest level of play from Sengoku, like we're saying. We kind of wanted more out of them. Maybe it's the tilt, maybe it's the draft, maybe it's a whole host of minutiae and all these other things. But it wasn't unentertaining. Still found it very fun, so that's good for us. And, of course, for you, dear viewer. Looks like, with that last note, we've got ourselves some more entertainment inbound. We're into game.
So here we are, onto Rift. Sengoku, DFM, Game 2. All to play for. DFM lead the series right now, 1-0. They'll be looking to make this 2-0 and put Sengoku to the sword. But now that there is no longer a Skarner top lane, now that there is a Gnar, now that we're seeing Pyrion back on an SKT-themed Azir, we might well be looking for Sengoku to come back and punch back. I know I certainly am. I call this one to be a 3-2, and I want my predictions to be damn well right, or I'm going to be in trouble. But seeing here, we've got the runes. Anything in there that's kind of surprising you?
Dark Harvest on Lilia. That's the one thing. You can go phase rush. You can help you run down or run away from something like Lilia and all the other stuff. It helps you just disengage from fights. However, Dark Harvest is nice in team fights. It means that you can get that one-shot combo onto the first target. Your DOT ends up getting people relatively low to end up eventually proccing that with your next instance of damage. And now the level 1, we're talking about it in the last game. But there's four people down here.
Yeah, they are, and they wanted to go for Raptors. Here comes Pyrion, but it's going to be the last embrace on a 2. That's so many flashes out of Sengoku Gaming.
It's 2 away. Blank thinking that he was going to get rooted up by NT ends up going, he ends up flashing over the wall as well. Seraphs was only there with the turrets, but it was enough to force Blank out. But no camp was started just yet, so it's even in the jungle start. Ebby, importantly, burns an early teleport. So actually, Summon is burned on both sides.
It is, of course, you've got to remember that if Shen can survive to level 6, we'll still have that ability to affect the map with the Stand United, but first resets will be a little bit more awkward for this champion.
But also interesting to know, I think that Blank is about couple of seconds, 4 or 5 seconds ahead of Steel, which means that Steel is going for a less than a full clear. He's ended up skipping camps already. Level 2 hit by the bot lane of Sengoku.
Yeah, they did. That's probably because of the way that they got to lane a little bit faster. Didn't end up with the start they were looking for, but that's fine. Utapon now at level 2 has got himself Piercing Darkness to join alongside that last embrace, I'm sure. Will continue to trade up in this lane, but that's Gang going forwards into the Deadly Flourish. But there, the Piercing Darkness comes out into the last embrace. Now, NT gets rooted up, but they have no vision, so can't do anything more.
And the thing with Nautilus and Leona is that if you end up CCing them with something which brings them into melee range, they just auto-attack you with either Nautilus passive or Leona Q, and they get left Aftershock, and suddenly that trade, which might be very deadly against another champion, becomes a little bit more middling in these 2v2s. Gang still more than healthy on the Leona. That means that 2v2, even though its priority and wave control is over to Sengoku right now, no kill threat just yet.
No, it's not. And you can see Blank hanging around this bot side scuttle, waiting for it to spawn, wants to be around to try and contest. That's another hook, but the Aftershock comes down, and that's a good Piercing Darkness onto 2.
And the thing is, the Glacial there slowing down Jin, so he couldn't walk up for the 4th shot. Yutori, it means that Yutori takes a lot of damage, and he doesn't get to put it out onto Gang, so well played by Utapon, just to make sure the trade was turned around in that 2v2 a bit.
Good soldier trade in mid there onto Seros, keeps him a little low, but you can see Steel is aware we might be looking at a gank onto this bot side. Blank hovering around, but he's going to be found out. They get the root, and they get the last embrace, and it will be first blood to Steel versus Blank. 2 games in a row.
Blank, what are you doing? He has no flash. He doesn't have a lantern to get him out of trouble. The immediate flash Zenith Blade punished by Gang, and Blank once again. It's first blood, it's doubles, it's Steel taking the advantage.
Seros does take a bit of trade, but now Pyrion has to be where you've got no jungler, has to be very, very afraid. Has got flash, but will just shuffle his way over the wall. That'll be all that she wrote for that one. I guess because they saw actually got the Zenith Blade coming in, that is traded back with the Dredge line though. Utomiyashi running away from the support of DFM, but that's a Shield of Daybreak now onto NT. Piercing Darkness, though, is a very irritating ability, but now maybe Steel's in trouble. Has got to find his way out of trouble. The Watch Out Eep comes through. Flash from Steel, but now the teleport coming out will be from Seros, but he's going to find himself in front of Apperman, which is a bit of a rough space to be. But here comes Ebby as well. Sengoku Gaming corralled in the river. The spear misses, but Pyrion has no mana again. He's going to have to flash away. Ebby gets the taunt onto Blank, but Ebby also really damn low. He's going to flash in. Apperman gets that kill, and Blank is out. The Swirl Seed coming through as well. Seros not quite with the damage, but the spear rather comes through, and that will be a 1-for-1, all things said and done. But Pyrion out of lane in as many minutes as well.
Okay, alright, Blank doesn't die for that one. They don't end up securing the scuttle, which is what they are fighting over. Who needs that? It's all about the kills, apparently, between what we tend to classify as some of the more thoughtful teams, the more calculated teams, the ones which try and think things through.
Oh,
no. Once again, going into the enemy jungle. He doesn't have flash now, remember?
He doesn't, but Seros is going to be around. They're going to continue working forwards because they have the damage. Question, the Blooming Blow misses, but Apperman's roamed down. Steel in the fight, trying to get out. The pumps is not going to be quite enough, and Steel gets another one! It's going to be the 1-for-1. Blank gets that one, and Seros has to flash out over the wall.
Blank is actually getting quite a few Dark Harvest stacks now. Gets another one, though, with the Swell Seed. He has himself double buffs. These things have been around for quite some time. Get them on bug, and these ones are past their expiry date. We're going to have to go watch the replay. Blank is really just banging his head against Steel in the jungle, saying, look, I'm going to have to fight you over these things. I don't want to fall too far behind, even if I have other camps up. We saw this against V3. And we also saw it not go so well for Sengoku versus V3. A bit more of a measured result this time. Ebby tries to shut down the Lilio once more, but with the move speed from those blooming blows, does manage to get out, and then of course the Dark Harvest keeps coming in. Still, this is, that is just so unfair. How can you be that accurate? Of course, Apperman puts himself next to the wall, cuts off half of his escape options. Then again, still has to throw the shot anyway, does end up going in. Then he takes Raptors, and then this is what we saw last on live.
Both of these junglers desperately trying to get every edge, but they're fighting for it over and over. But this means the Blank gets the shutdown onto Steel, even if Steel is up at 3 kills.
And what we saw there is Azir. You say, oh, why is he shuffling in? You do get the shield from the E. That's what he's trying to do, trying to get that last bit of burst down. Does get finished off, unfortunately, by Steel, who now has 3 kills on the Nidalee. He's very accelerated in this game. I wonder if that means he'll go for an early Rod of Ages, or whether he will go towards the more supported build of the Athenes. Either way, he will be reaching whatever item he chooses much quicker than he would have done in a less frantic game.
Top side, though, you can see it is fair amount of CS advantage to Apperman. It's a range match. It's a range matchup, of course, but also remember Ebby burned that teleport level 1 to get up to the top lane. It's kind of punished a little bit there. He died for first blood as well, or not first blood, first kill rather than Sengoku picked up. And that's kind of meant the gold is only the 400 or so in favor of DFM. And gold totals are pretty high for 7 minutes in because it's been a bit of a bloodbath.
A lot of that is because Afferman has himself an individual lead over Ebby. What was that about top laners, a real top laner? What was that about? Oh, Ebby looked good in game 1. If he plays like this again, well, maybe he won't get the chance to play like that again. Maybe he's going to be too far behind in this 1v1 to really impact the game as he did in that first game. And that can only be good things for Sengoku because the rest of the map still not particularly going in their favor just yet.
No, we can see Seros here with the triple Doran's ring because of the way the backs work. Wants that early lane pressure. He does like this build. Will delay the Rod of Ages, but you can see Pyrion has responded with the double Dorans of himself. Blank looks to steal away the blue. Head over to that Rift Herald.
You know, we were talking about like, well, DFM, they got all those property thing, all their investments in property. Well, now they're going to jewelry. You know, precious gems.
Yeah.
No, those very rarely drop in value. Apparently they do actually. They're not very slow.
Here we go again.
And it's another fight. It's Herald this time. Good heavens, look at the time. It's 8 minutes.
NT's here though, and you can see, of course, that Steel took away that Ocean Drake, but does not want to give over this Herald quite necessarily for free. Maybe looking for a spear, but I think they're just gonna have to give it up. Utori's roamed up as well, but actually everybody's here. DFM, you're not going to get this. You're looking for the fight afterwards. NT finds himself with an aftershock, but that is the curtain call at the back end of this. Going to take a fair amount of damage. Steel will take some, but that's actually NT just goes down. He's dead. He won't manage to wake his way out. Now Ebby on the backside looking for something onto Appman. It's just the one kill in trade for Herald. But all that while that bot lane is just kind of sitting in the middle of the lane. Doing not a lot there.
Gotta really praise Gang for knowing how to catch out his enemy support. He did it on the Thresh, did it on the Nautilus this time. At least NT knows that he's dead and he doesn't burn his flash. But yeah, it is worth noting, while all this was happening, it's not like Utori was committing to the fight. He just ended up getting farmed. They still get the Herald. It's onto Pyrion. Maybe not the best target they wanted to. But given the amount of resources committed from both sides, it was a relatively even investment of players moving around the map. Do you think it's still just about in Sengoku's favor, even with the kill going down?
Quite possibly. I think that's probably fair to say. And you saw what Jin was doing. He sat in mid lane, threw curtain call out, and then got the wave. Like it was. That's the joys of playing Jin sometimes.
It's like, yeah, wow, it's the farm alarm. You hear like the diddly or whatever the. I mean, I don't know what skin he's playing. It's got different sounds. Okay, that was also really... Okay,
is he playing SKT Jin? That's the real
that's a very good point. That'd be something.
I don't know. I'll see where Utori has gone towards that.
I'll see from different seasons. Season 5 was...
he's gone for the
High Noon.
Is it High Noon?
Yeah.
It is High Noon, okay.
Yeah, I don't remember that SKT Jin was from season 6, season 5. This was Easy Hoon skins, not Fake It.
No.
Yeah, he had the rise from season 5.
Yeah, substitute mid laner. Substitute mid laner.
What a team that was, actually. Anyway... What a team Sengoku is. What a team DFM are. Who needs any of these former world champions with all these godlike players on? We got ourselves some LJL action. It looks like there is... the camera's panning down to bot lane. Not sure anything's going to happen right now. Steel was poking his head down there, seeing if there was anything to be found, but doesn't look like it. Pyrion has ult, has flash. Would have to go into turrets to force Seros into a bad situation. Look like he's committing to anything.
Stand United is available for Ebby alongside teleports for both of DFM solo lanes. They're on number Sengoku gaming. That means this bot lane is in trouble. Spear does miss, but that means the Shenolts come through. Solar Flare misses as well. This is getting a bit dicey for DFM, but they're going to get onto Utori anyway. He goes down now. Enti flashing out will manage to escape with the dredge line after the flash. And DFM get the kill, get out. They're going to have Seros teleport back into mid lane, but here comes Blank coming in behind. They're going to Lilting Lullaby him here as well. That was well played by Sengoku Gaming. The shuffle comes out. The Dawning Shadow comes through, but Pyrion still on the turret. The tower shot won't quite come through with the flash of the Blooming Blaze, but now the turret shot's not quite enough. Sengoku Gaming's lane is so low. Must find a way to escape. Must find a way out. They're going to get Seros another kill. It's a shutdown onto the Lilia. Pyrion is here, takes a shot. And will he manage to execute? Yes, he will.
Okay, so at least it's one execute. They get the plates in mid lane, and Seros still had to burn his teleport and died for it. It's messy. We were talking about in game 1, what's actually the maximum value you get out of a Herald? Because that kind of tells you how much the trade was worth when you took that Herald in the first place. And we said, okay, well, you know, there was a kill going over. With that kind of play happening, when you kind of go 1 for 1, you have to burn double flashes and ults and all this stuff. Even though you take the plates, just makes it so much harder to judge whether this was worth it. Going back to the replay now, this was the bot lane dive. Yeah, Yutori does not get hit by the solar flare, ends up cleansing. He was always going to die. It's just whether DFM could get any more value out of this. They end up only getting the one kill. They don't even stick around for that first play because this play comes in the mid lane. Going back over this, the sleep often is set up for the Lilia W. Doesn't actually get the center of it and is a very slim radius. They do, however, excuse me, get the Dark Harvest stack onto Blank, get the kill onto Lilia too, and at least that ends up being a little bit of side value for that play.
That's for sure. Ebby's burnt teleport to get to that mid lane, but it got scrappy, is the way we'll put it. It cost Seros farm mid. It cost Seros sort of farm mid, which is big news. I also prefer Scooby, but I was
good. If you don't, then
yeah, with his problems.
Check yourself.
But you can see DFM aren't going to be able to contest with this dragon. Ebby had to go back to base because of the way things ended up with health bars. And that means that Appman's actually getting a lot of free time alone on the top side. And the gold is 100 apart despite a lot of plays kind of getting turned around just purely because Sengoku managed to get their way onto a lot of plates in mid and top.
Okay, right. Sorry, I just had to clear my throat a bit there. Oh, man, that's what you get for eating really grainy foods for breakfast. Anyway, right, gotta talk now. Right, yes, Ebby is behind significant amounts of gold, was part of that dive bot lane. Didn't get any plates for it, though.
Yes.
Hasn't got any plates in his own lane. Has been bullied off a lot of farm. Appman is very far up there. Where is the gold advantage coming for the rest of DFM, though? Kind of incremental, small advantages being built up by pretty much everyone else, though.
Utapon up about 600 gold here, probably about the way to phrase that. He's doing pretty well individually, and it's kind of top v bot difference, but that's because DFM have put a lot of time into bot, whereas Appman's got the lane kind of free at top.
It's not really the same as 1.4k in top lane, though. That's what I'm saying. Like, okay, it is an advantage, and there's slight gold leads for mid and jungle too for DFM. Of course, it is Utapon who's had the most gold advantage so far. Question is it enough to turn a fight or win that lane handedly, like it is for Appman right now on the Gnar?
To wait and see. It's certainly got Appman to his Black Cleaver, but it's versus Sano who's managed to get away to the dirt, has got himself the mana moon.
No, actually, early lethality always is nice for laning phase, particularly when you've got an auto reset.
And you've got the Ludens in now for Saros. Of course, the second direct did go to Sengoku Gaming as well, so you can see that is where most of Sengoku's gold is straight from plates. 180 gold to 1,260. That's quite a lot.
I think last game we saw about 900 gold coming out of DFM's plates, so yeah, no, Sengoku one-upping that. Gonna have to talk a little bit about Furion's build. He hasn't actually... Okay, so last time we saw him on the Azir, he was going straight into Ludens. Yes. This time what he's doing, he's stopping off in the Lost Chapter, which means he has 20% CDR now that he's level 10, has that Transcendence, and of course the... well, they have 30% now as well, because he's got the Stinger too. He's ending up stopping on the Lost Chapter and building towards the Nash's Tooth. I vastly prefer this to going straight into Ludens, even though it gives you more poke, just because the Nash's Tooth is so much of your early to mid-game team fighting damage, because it gives you that huge amount of AP and attack speed, which, you know, just on the raw stats, even though the passive doesn't apply to your Sand Soldiers.
Herald number 2 now being started. Sengoku Gaming were thinking about it. Blank hopped over the wall, but he got spotted out on the vision plan. Now DFM starting it up. This has been a point of concern before we bring it up every time. Mega Gnar is timing up, and maybe, just maybe, Appman can look for something at the very end of it. Here comes the curtain call. Appman now back in mini Gnar. DFM still in position. There is, of course, if the eye turns up, serious danger here that it could get stolen, but that is DFM securing it. They're going to move over to the eye. It's taken, curtain call down, nothing else thus far coming of it.
I don't know why you commit for that, because there's a wave bot lane. NT now really low, and that's the Heimer ult fall out.
Oh my days, the Dawning Shadow will claim that one. The railgun enough to force that kill, and that means a dead bot laner and a Herald in inventory, and DFM looking to try and steal away this blue buff as well. I don't know whether Steel's going to go in. Pyrrhon's going to have to shuffle his way away, thinking, I can't be here, and DFM will instead look to pressure in this mid lane and look for the first turret. That's the solar flare, and Blank had to flash away from the straight stun.
Why is Blank staying around? NT has just died. You've had to use your mobility combo on Azir as well. You're not going to be able to commit to that. Pyrrhon, is he going to be able to hit the eye?
I think he is just about.
Okay, it is
stopped by the way. He got stopped by the way.
It's worth noting the Azir soldiers do not pop that. You actually have to move your soldiers out of range of the Herald to pop the eye. Really unfortunate for Azir when he's taking Herald. Blank, once again, committing for this. Ebby is just over the wall. The fight doesn't coalesce.
Ebby taken fairly low here. He's, of course, got himself the Tiamat in inventory, which is something. And against where the plates were, against the tiny amount of health on those top lane turret, DFM did manage to get first turret there.
They do, but look at the kills. Look at the first tower going down, and then you see that the gold is still effectively even. Afman, he can just walk up and auto this once. He doesn't need any sword to it. Sticks around, watches it fall.
It is in fact Eddie.
Locks eyes with Eddie and says, "Try and defend your turret. Just try." Has no way to stop the minions wailing on that structure for now, and it will go down. Saros, however, has lots of rockets and armaments to do the same thing for him. Remember, kids, it's about the gun you wield. Yeah, was it the? It's not about how big the stick is. It's about who wields it. Turns out having a big stick also helps.
Yeah. Yes, it can also help if you've just got a massive stick and your stick is in fact a rocket launcher.
Yeah. That's not a stick at that point. It's a very bad analogy.
It's a camouflage rocket launcher.
Ah, right, gotcha. It's a skin. It's a skin. It's a cosmetic enhancement.
Cosmetic enhancement for your rocket launchers, guys.
Cool.
That's what. DFM now setting up for this third Drake of the match. It will be a Cloud Rift, by the way, but Sengoku Gaming coming back in to make sure it's not a free contest. And I wonder what the call will be. DFM wandering in from the bot side, having got the bot wave shoved up. They are going to try and get on Sengoku Gaming here a little bit. Swellseed misses, but that is Gang going in, trying to get something. He's stepping forwards, but he's pretty deep. But that was a Stand United burned as well. Blank just goes down. He's so damn squishy. NT goes golden, but can he find his way? Mega Nut for Apperman was pretty huge, but it's already a double for the Shen. And the rockets now come firing. The stick skin is pretty damn dangerous. DFM get 2, and they'll move straight onto this dragon.
Blank caught out. Just bluntly should not be that far up. They didn't have the correct vision control. They didn't set up their phalanx with Afferman far enough in front to buy his team some time with that front line of the Meganar. Blank didn't get a chance to use his ult, and once again, Gang and Ebby teaming up with Leona and Shen. I'm starting to wonder if you need to ban these away in the first 3.
You think Gang's gone too deep, and then you see, wait, that's not a regular shield, that's a Stand United.
And, okay, I mean, Afam was there. He didn't have himself the Meganar, and NT was just he's not tanky enough at this point. He might have Aftershock, might have his W shield. Utori is not there to kite backwards either. He's on the other side of the fight. And really, DFM catching Sengoku out pretty much in every fight so far in the series.
So you can sort of see how DFM's team fight is supposed to work, how if you can get onto that Lilia and CC her and place her mobility, doesn't necessarily all that mean that much, but the lilting lullaby now coming through onto Steel, but the teleport turnaround. Gang was there, NT is deep again, he has got flash, will manage to find his way away from the Zenith flip, and now Blank is in trouble, will avoid the taunt, he will now manage to escape, and the turnaround, the DFM may have gone too deep, Utapon, Soleo, Gang gets the Shield of Daybreak out, but Seros isn't here, it's a 4v5, the shuffle misses because Gang goes golden, but I think he will be the sacrificial lamb. That's a good hook. Baron is not alive, but Steel goes down. It's 2-0 in favor of Sengoku this way. Can they get more? DFM looked for it, couldn't find the taunt, and the counter teleports were brilliant.
All right, so Sengoku escaped the initial play for pretty much the first time this game, and they immediately pounced back. I think DFM have been doing a really good job of doing that to Sengoku so far. It's the first time the shoe has been put on the other hand. But, right, okay, going into the... I've said that... I have no idea why I said that. Anyway, right, Pyrian is the first person we're focusing on here. Why's that? Yes, he was the earlier... yes, that's kind of unfortunate, but he does escape. He does flash away, and then the ult comes through from Utapon. And that's the point where DFM like, okay, all right, numbers advantage. That's pretty cool. I like that. And this is when the fight starts in earnest. You know there's a teleport on his ear, so if the fight goes long enough that he will return to this part of the map. Steel is altered by Lilia, but they just can't follow up on it. This has not been a great initiation Lilia thus far, but however, stepping out on that taunt from Ebby restarts the fight anew, and then you have the teleports in from both solo lanes. Pyrian comes in, and even though Pyrian does whiff the ult, it was because of the stopwatch, and with no flash available from Gang, he is always going to go down there. And NC, just gets right on top of the group's team and gets out alive.
Does. It was a 1-for-2 in the end. Good news, Sengoku Gaming, that is something for them. DFM finally overstepping a little bit there, just before the Baron spawn as well, which I'm sure they're grateful for, because when you've got yourself a Lilia and Nazir, Baron dies really damn fast.
Speaking of things dying fairly quickly, during the course of that play, Saros had no TP. He was bot lane, and he did take that turret, so it does mean that the 2-1 turret lead comes from that. I think it's worth us talking about a couple of the items now. We haven't talked on that for a little while. We have Titanic Hydra, Wave Clear for Ebby, but then again, Afferman has that Frozen Mallet Black Cleaver build. It is so annoying to wave clear against this guy, and actually, taking down the bot lane turret means the lane is so long, if Ebby pushes up too far, Afferman probably just runs him down. Got items coming through the carries. You've got 2 items on the center and an extra Durkin inventory. Saros has a lot of AP too, and we do have a Nash's Tooth and Storm Razor complete the Pyrian Yusoro Miyashi.
Those are good news as well. I kind of do want to call out, it's not quite the Muramana yet for Steel. That will be a big point of power for the center whenever it comes
Steel
to
has a Muramana.
Utapan
Wow.
is who I was looking for. Yeah, Muramana.
80 Nidalee.
It's been a while.
while.
Looking up the wrong name there. That's probably a bad sign, really, all things said and done. But it is a bit scary. And the other thing is this Leandri's Torment complete for Lilia is big news. It's a lot of damage for this fawn in the jungle.
But the thing about doing damage is that you have to be alive to do damage, something which Blanca's kind of struggled with so far. It's been called out a lot. They're throwing out the Swell Seeds, but the Curse of the Black Mist gives them the movement speed needed to sidestep out of that. But by sidestepping, they are not wave clearing. The minions get shoved into tower, and the mid lane outer turret falls in favor of Sengoku.
It will. Saros on the top side will get some alone time with that top turret.
He will
have, and he will have teleport to turn up to this dragon fight should he wish to get there. Ebby might have shoved up quite a way though, and Blank's coming around the back. Ebby needs to be careful here. He's very far up. He's got flash, he's got taunt, but all the while this is happening, he's going to try and get out. They're going to go on to him, but the jungler's not there. They're doing Baron. He doesn't care. He just needs to buy time. He's bought time, and Blank's like, okay, this is great. We can go on to.
Well, it's not even half health yet. They're not taking it quick enough. This is actually now very dangerous to DFM. Can they get a clean engage from Sengoku?
They're going to think about it. NT over the wall does not have flash. It's very, very low. They have secured Baron. Now they need to get out DFM, buy the Baron with the life of their top laner.
And Ebby has often overextended in bot lanes. He has been relatively easy to prey upon in this playoff so far. This time, his team gets something out of it, though. They get the Baron. They don't have any chance of steal because it's Blank that goes down to punish him. It's not like there are any teleports from the solo lanes to go punish DFM. They've now reset. They have themselves 4 Baron buffs, but they have lost themselves the Dragon. How much can DFM get off of this Baron power play?
Here's a question. You can see Pyrian immediately recalled the moment he saw Saros top, saying, I don't want to see this tier 2 for free. They'll head up there. Everyone else is reset. Saros is not. He will now come out. Still has that teleport, so might just look to come out of the map with that or save it for keeping a minion alive. They look to be very aggressive with their pushes.
There will be the teleport from Ebby coming up soon too. So the solo laners actually of both teams going to have that global pressure. Yutori has himself the Storm Razor and the Fire Cannon. Doesn't have an Infinity Edge just yet, so not having that key Jhin damage item, although the utility is very, very much appreciated. Executioner's Calling also built up on this last pack. Very helpful versus the likes of the Athenes and Holy Grail heal from the Nidalee, and of course that Piercing Darkness from Senna.
Alrighty then, so you can see Death Cap, as we said, in for Saros. Big news. 3 items for Utapon with that Muramana transformation. DFM are ready to go. They have Baron. They have the 1-3-1 setup with all those globals up and available. Stand United will be around in a couple seconds as well. And there's just going to be this full court press. They've got a minute and a half to try and get some stuff out of this. Whether they can will be a question, of course, because this early on in the game...
Still going very deep there. I was wondering if an engage was going to come through. I guess Sengoku didn't have vision on enough members, and of course, this Shen ult being available makes things very awkward. That's the ult from... Ow, some damage.
Pyrian takes basically Heimerdinger death cap damage, and his health bar being so low, he cannot be under this turret. That will be... Saros managed to get in there, but the flash from Pyrian saved him from the Dawning Shadow. That railgun has been lethal this game. Utapon has definitely been hitting the right marks on that one. But now Ebby is going to find his way into a 1v1 with Apperman, which goes even for now. But of course, the range advantage from Apperman is just so obnoxious.
Oh, look at that. It just keeps happening. Mini Na is very low in stats, but just his W pass makes him such a difficult champion to deal with. Are they going to have to teleport on this, or are they just leaving Apperman to die?
I think they're leaving Apperman to die. He's going to find a... flash out for the steal, but Saros on the top side goes down. They get onto the other side, and that will be DFM losing 1. They will trade it back, and it's a shutdown onto Utapon. But that means that the Baron push kind of stifled.
It is. That's a lot of time bought up now from Sengoku. How many turrets did they take? They took down the top lane inner, and that's it. They took 1 turret. That's a relatively good defense from Sengoku.
Yep.
It's only 2,000 gold. It means that at this stage in the game, that's pretty much the gold lead in its entirety. It's not game breaking. And that does mean that it overlapped with the Dragon Spawn. We saw that on the initial reset from the Baron off DFM. It's not even like DFM are on Soul Point. And even if they were, it's only a Cloud Soul.
Let's see the replay here to see what happened to the top side. Seros and Pyrian going at it once
So
again.
he had vision here. He doesn't take a step backwards. I guess he's in a long lane. He was going to get run down anyway. Swirl Seed hits. Yeah, Sleep comes through, and then CC comes after it. Really nicely comboed from Sengoku, but Seros this time, the solo lane, that's caught out.
Oh, that bot lane tier 2 is inches away, an auto attack away from falling, but they can't quite get to it. See, the Stand United there was burned by Ebby, couldn't quite get there in time, and that gold graph looks pretty back and forth, but it's actually only about a 3k swing that's there. 3,000 is the gold lead for DFM, which is something, but 27 minutes in the game, not that much.
No, it's not. This is the thing. You think, wow, that looks like a really big lead because of the way the graph is put. Yeah, but it's only like 2,000 on the upper end of each scale there. Okay, right. Looks like both teams are very content to walk around in grouped units, because if you walk around on your own, particularly as Sengoku, you have a channel coming through. You have teleports coming through from both teams as well, and then the ultimate of Senna adding in extra damage. It just means that if you are on your own, things just get so risky to play around. Sengoku are also grouping up to see if they can fall up on any kind of Lilia engage, any of that pick potential. We saw that put on show from V3 versus Sengoku, particularly in game 1. Oh my word, I never want to see a Lilia ult into Sion ult again. It was hilarious amounts of damage. This time they're looking to do it in something like the Jin W or the Nautilus hook though.
Dragon again will be spawning in under a minute now. It'll be third Drake for either team. DFM traded the last one for Baron, but there's still about a 30-second disconnect, so I think there's room for one team or the other to rush this one down if they get the chance. See how that one plays out. There's a teleport coming out of Seros, interestingly as well.
Trying to
There's a team fight. No! We are going to come straight back in. That's a lot of low health bars. Blank in particular taken low. This Senna has hit pretty much critical mass, doing a lot of work. And we've got another... Buffering! I have no idea what's going on, but we're going to see that's the Emperor's Divide coming out, but Ebby gets over it with the taunt. Now Pyrian in trouble. That's a lot of damage, and the lilting lullaby coming out. That's going golden as used upon as the curtain call coming out, but Ebby blocks all the bullets and takes no damage at all from that point. There's just nothing there. And Utapon heals everybody else up. Of course, Steel with the Athenes as well means that DFM can take those trades, turn around and go, yeah, well, we're still back to being full health.
Oh, this is with the Dragon alive. I don't know whether Sengoku really wants to contest this. Like we're saying, it is just the Cloud Dragon. The Baron is alive, and remember, there is an Azir. Oh, wait, I said there's an Azir on Sengoku, but he's not even there. He's teleporting in for this Baron attempt.
They're going to try and get there. It's just spawn. DFM will be able to get there in time to contest, but they're moving into the dark.
But look how
Gang's
many ults DFM have and how many ults Sengoku don't have.
They've done a lot to try and get away with it. They know they're in trouble. They've lost a lot of turrets. That's Gang going in. There's the railgun. It chunks Yutori Miyashi. NT's low as well. Pyrian now caught off by the Solar Flare Apperman. Flash! Zenith Blade is huge. Blank is in trouble. I can't see what's going on. We're still buffering here, so I've got to hope that somebody is dead. You assume they are. But for now, the Emperor's Divide coming out again. Pyrian goes low, but stays alive. How is this happening? Steel will finally secure it, but in the backside, NT claims the other support, but it's a double for the Nidalee. Deficio out there proud with my pronunciation. Now Apperman caught out, no Meganar, and he's going to try and get this wave shoved. Seros roaming down as well, but now that Meganar bar starting to charge again, and TFM aren't going to the Baron quite yet. They're thinking about trying to corral Apperman. He's so threatening right now.
DFM do not have great Baron damage. If Apperman was to buy enough time, and actually he's turning it around 1v4?
He's thinking about it. He's going to get the Meganar up. He's going to be careful of those turrets. Those are the turrets coming out. He takes a lot of damage. The last embrace misses. The taunt comes through. He's dead to right. There is still 50 seconds on Apperman. Pyrian has no teleport and is still dead for 10.
But he buys enough time, and DFM's Baron damage is still pretty low because they have a Senna, even though Heimerdinger is relatively good at taking that objective. Maybe this play goes better if Pyrian is there a little bit earlier and doesn't have to burn the teleport. I guess he's there for the spawn, but either way, maybe I'm just picking too many hairs out of that one. They don't have enough ultimates to take the fight. They think they can rush the Baron, but as soon as it becomes a bad idea for them and they're not going to finish it in time, they don't disengage cleanly. They did have the Emperor's Divide come up luckily there. It buys some time, but still throwing auto attacks ends up putting down enough damage to finish off 2 members of Sengoku. At least the Baron doesn't go down from Sengoku's perspective, but now they are down about 4,000, 5,000 gold. And while we were saying 2,000 gold wasn't particularly impactful earlier into the game, this is a bit more worrying for Sengoku.
And this Senna is just lethal to everybody that isn't this Gnar. And even then, Gnar's only just now picked up a, not Randuin's Omens, but the male that I forget the name of right now. Ebby's found his way into the backline. Blank taking a bit of a chunk there, but Ebby will kind of get to walk away as well. And DFM just playing with vision. He takes a bit of a chunk, but that's going to be an engage onto Appman, but he's so damn tanky. Solar
Is
Flare
that the guy you
popped
want to
out
be
of.
really forcing
They burn a lot of
everything
ults onto that. That's the Solar Flare down, but it's not the longest cooldown. DFM down that pretty key piece of engage, though, and the swell seeds keep coming by, and the bowling alley of DFM is starting to get irritated by the Leandri spell.
The question is there going to be a point where the backline of Sengoku can
That's
really fight?
That's going to be Blank going down. He's dead again. Appman's got Mega Nard, but the Stand United comes out. That's still Gang getting in over the top of it, and NT goes down as well. The curtain call is coming out, but it's got to have to be well aimed, and it's already cancelled. 2 dead again. The support, the jungler, Seros, in a bit of a scary position, but Yutorime actually takes the turret to the face and is at half HP as well now. And DFM will run straight over to this Baron. Pyrion is alive, so is Appman. The solo lanes of Sengoku Gaming have to pull out some magic.
That is a really, really impactful Heimerdinger ultimate. Has himself 3 items and the full burst from the ultimate E. That bouncing grenade comes through onto 3 people, and that pretty much spells the doom of Sengoku. Once that CC and damage has come through, they don't have the ability to go forwards in the fight. They are just funneling backwards, and they still don't manage to disengage cleanly. Pyrion has no mana. I think he's dead here.
I think he might
He
well be.
can't combo out. He can't combo out.
He's got a Banshee's Veil, and that's
he's just dead.
He's just dead. There's the taunt finally. Taunting Shadow come through. He isn't even needed. And that is a solo kill. Ebby gets that one. 5th death of the game for Pyrion. 1, 5, and 6 on the Azir. Not found anything really in this game.
Okay, let's go through this, because we were thinking, all right, just blowing a load of stuff onto Afferman. Well, actually, that just happens on screen right now. They use the taunt, they use the solar flare, and then Sengoku think, all right, Baron's up, we can't leave this area, we want to still fish for something. They're trying to get wave control, that's why NT is moving upwards, but they don't have something like a Callista to keep him safe, which is why when he steps up too far, he ends up getting absolutely nuked by the backline of DFM. See here, just so much damage coming out of DFM at this point in the game. And after the first couple of members have gone down from Sengoku without, having the Lilia ult to combo anything off of, it's really lights out for Sengoku's team fight.
I've also got to call out here that Appman's gone for a split push build and is in a lot of team fights.
I'm going to throw this out there. There is no difference between a split push and a team fight now.
Even with the wit's end?
Nope.
Okay, there you go then.
Pretty much. It's a really good item for him.
Because I would have thought maybe Ranju and Toman might have been a shout there.
Put it this way, if Aurelia can team fight with Blade the Ruin King or Black Cleaver, and Renekton can team fight with Black Cleaver and Blade the Ruin King, it doesn't really make much of a difference.
Okay. So I was thinking, would there have been an argument for something like a Death Stance, something more defensive?
No.
Okay.
No.
So just straight wit's end, you need the aggressive.
Attack speed benefits him so much when he's mini-Gnar, and it just allows him to get to his passive even quicker, much like Shyvana charging the ult. Speaking of ults, Ebby has ult, he's forcing on the bot lane inhibitor, and it looks like
NT's taken so low, and that Nautilus is supposed to be a frontline. He's not anymore. Pyrion takes the full brunt of the sun, and he will get out, but now Appman on the bot side getting chunked out by Ebby. That is not a 1v1, he's winning anymore. Curtain call coming out, and DFM kind of caught in a bit of an awkward space, but Appman gets the Mega Nard, but is now still trying to run away in a 2 versus 1. Used upon over the back end of this one. And once again, Appman is playing Distract the backline. DFM's Gang and Ebby just chasing this guy down. They're going to turn back over to the Cloud Drake, secure themselves Cloud Soul, and all the while, the minions do the work that Ebby started, and the bot lane inhibitor turret falls for DFM.
And honestly, Sengoku are falling apart at the seams. We saw it a little bit with the Baron and how things fell apart from that point, but at this point now, a couple of minutes later, DFM have themselves Cloud Soul, they have themselves Baron, they have themselves a huge gold lead and a huge turret lead. They're sieging in and sieging with a Heimerdinger and an Italy, both champions which work well in their own right. Throughout the Heimerdinger ult, doesn't hit anything, doesn't matter.
He has to flash away. 1, 6, and 1 on the Nautilus. It's been a rough couple of playoff series for this guy. Here comes the engage again. Gang going in, flash onto Blank, but can Sengoku turn it around? They don't find the kill this time to DFM. There's still no lilting lullaby that's been popped. Blank could look for the re-engage, but NT's so low. Apperman got Mega Nard. Can he get the boulder toss? No, he can't. Look for the teleports. Pyrion has it. Apperman has it. But Seros and the rest of DFM back away, having taken the inhibitor. They don't find the engage they were looking for. Sengoku don't find the counter engage either. Maybe that was the root, but what? The turrets onto Blank?
That was a comet. That was so much going on there. I mean, okay, I'm throwing it out there. If they have Elder Dragon on that kind of thing, he just randomly dies. Just put that. Maybe that's the play. Just put a random turret across the jungle and walk between them.
Epic enough to just. Okay. This is difficult news, I think, for Sengoku in the down. Soul again, and it's Soul versus the likes of Leona, who just loves the movement speed after she goes in. You're looking at Ebby, who would love the movement speed after he goes in to make sure he lands those taunts. Nidalee as well, if she can use it with the Cougar form to keep up with the space. He's not a bad user of it either. So this could be some pretty scary moments. Up now are 7,000 gold. There is still an Azir at only 2 items. There's still a Jhin here. There's, Appleman's still pretty strong. Maybe they can find the mother of all lilting lullabies. Maybe, period, if they can stall and get to a death cap. Maybe that's an option, but he's not even looking at that right now. He's looking at a Luden's third here with
maybe
the
he's going. No, he could be going for the Void Staff. I'd much prefer that. If it was the Void Staff, maybe they do have that team fight damage to come through in the late stages of this game, but it already is the later stages of this game, and he's not been doing enough damage. We saw he was doing work on the Zoe, really been struggling on this Azir. They do hit the Swirl Seed. It's not enough right now. They are going for this last-ditch fight.
It's on to Gang. He just throws up Eclipse, stays alive. Pyrian finds the engage.
Saros
goes down, but it's a 1-for-1. The mid laner for each trade each other. The turrets are still there. Utomi actually flashing out of the Solar Flare. But look at the tankiness. That Railgun, the Dawning Shadow, might well just be that. The dawn of the end of this game. Utapon gets another, and they get one, but they take so much damage doing it. And everybody else is so damn healthy.
Maybe that would have been a better angle if they were even in gold, and if Yutori could have got a few more auto attacks in, not just leading off with the curtain call. It looks like this will be the last fight. They tried to do that last ditch attempt. It did not work out in their favor. It's a 2-for-1, and with this siege continuing, DFM are pushing for the end.
Inhibitor goes down. Ebby's taunt misses. Sengoku Gaming have 3 versus 4 to try and hold on, and actually DFM come back over the wall. Looked like they were disengaging, but it was all a ruse. Appleman's got Meganar. They're going to get in on that. That's a lot of damage. Lilia, this late in the game, does have work. The Deadly Flourish misses, but the teleport's coming in. Can they find their way? And it's 2 seconds. 1 second up. Seros now teleporting in response. DFM want to fight this. Blank takes a bit of a chunk on his HP bar. Abby's still healthy. And remember, there's still an Athene's. Still the piercing darkness on DFM. That means they're still back to being full HP. Baron up in 6 seconds. Utorimashi in trouble. Ebby going over the wall. That's a Solar Flare again. Enti is just not tanky. The Dawning Shadow's back to wings. Come on, that's a big shuffle. But Pyrian just doesn't have any damage, and Unipon gets another kill. Blank goes golden. The curtain call hits nothing, and DFM, despite what looked like the mother of all shuffles, the only divide in this game is the gold lead, and it's just too much. DFM win that fight with their wallets.
Shuffle all you want. It's a stacked deck, and all the cards are saying that DFM are winning this game. They're going to go 2-0 up. Yutori's fighting in this bot lane, bot side jungle, but he's not there to defend his base. It is falling.
DFM will secure the base. The Emperor's divide was won between classes, the rich and the poor. DFM come out in that one. Looked good in that last fight. Wasn't quite enough.
And there's only so much you can do when you fall, when you should have had so many more advantages this game. You misplayed so many of the early fights. It was even for a very long time, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to say, hey, Sengoku, they're fighting from behind the whole game. They weren't, but you do have to call into account a lot of the mistakes on an individual level that they were making. And once again, Blank looks very uncomfortable. DFM look nothing of the sort, though very, very comfortable. They understand each of their roles in the team fight. They came away with a 2-0 lead.
Well, we'll talk a little bit more about it. DFM now at match point. We'll break it down at the analyst desk, go absolutely nowhere, and we'll see you in a few.
Hello everybody, and welcome back to the desk. Bring you coverage of the LJL, officially unofficial. Bring you coverage of the LJL 2020 Summer Split. Alex, otherwise known as Lexi Goodbye Master on the internet. Samuel, Initialize Hapgood. Alex, Nymera Hapgood, gentlemen. 2-0 DFM. And we all predicted DFM to win, but what's going on, gentlemen?
A lot of questions to be asked about the entirety of Sengoku in some of the way that they're playing macro and a lot of the ways they're playing individually. Which one do you want to start with, Lexi?
Why don't we start with the pick and ban phase and talk about how DFM just run it back and they played basically the same game?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think Utapon is a fabulous center. I'm happy
He really is, actually.
A lot of work on this pick. I also want to call out DFM's Shen Leona combo. They're pulling it out for the first time this series. It's just nasty. When Gang is landing so many engages, you disengage from one as he comes in with a Zenith Blade. The Shen then comes through and you've got another long-range engage with the taunt that comes on afterwards. You've got to have double the disengage. You can't flash away from both. You don't get to flash that far away. And it got really scary. The Empress Divide, for example, just not quite enough to hold it down.
All right, now moving over to the macro side of the game, Nymera, DFM are just playing, honestly, I think personally they're playing pretty bog standard. They're doing things as expected. They're going around objectives. They're just playing as a team and a unit, and it's working. I'm really confused what's going on.
So I was kind of waiting for the end of the series, like, wow, DFM are playing really well, and I'm not. I mean, they are playing well.
They are.
But they're being handed a lot of stuff on a silver platter.
I thought so.
First Blood to steal 2 games in a row. This is a like-for-like jungle matchup in this game to AP heavy farming junglers. The first game was to AD heavy farming junglers, and Steel came ahead with that both times. Blank, particularly in this composition as the Lilia, needs to enable his team. Those Lilting and Lullabies need to set up for so much. Didn't really happen this game because he was individually very far behind, well, quite far behind. Particularly couldn't impact the early game, which is where Sengoku would love to get some advantages so they could actually start winning some team fights in the mid game, which they haven't done in either game so far.
No.
I'll give some credit to Sengoku this game. Actually, no, they got an early Herald, they pushed in for a lot of plates, they got some early objectives. That was great news to keep things even because DFM had the kill lead. But honestly, with that plate lead, with the double, I think with the first Herald, you should be at a gold advantage. With that, you shouldn't be even, and that's not good enough. I have to call it out.
No, but so like think about it. That advantage, that gold that Sengoku had ahead in a lane, it was about 800 gold very early on Upperman in that top lane, and that just didn't seem to matter to Sengoku. They just didn't seem to care that Upperman was ahead. They didn't play through him. And that's different because Nymera highlighted this in the pick and ban phase when Sengoku were able to win one game versus V3. It was because Upperman got a gold lead and they played through him. And that didn't happen, did it, this time?
No, they didn't end up really punishing Ebby very heavily in the side lane. In fact, the one time they did, DFM got a damn Baron out of it. They just kill him when he's at the turret, and they're just not in position to respond. And that's when we're saying, oh, what's this macro coming out of Sengoku? It's because it doesn't seem like they're considering the entirety of the map. They've kind of got this bubble of, oh, we can make a play here. Oh, crap, then there's a play to be made on the other side of the map. I don't think Aquaman played badly this game. I think he's one of the better performers on Sengoku, at least in this game, and we'll ignore the Skana top. But yeah, no, they did manage to take down V3 that one game with it. I think the thing for me, though, is that Ebby had so many ways to get out of lane and make sure that the death ball of DFM was always going to be more relevant than the side lanes of Sengoku because they had the Leona going in, they had the Senna coming in too, and of course the Heimerdinger at Alt E as well was very, very impactful this game. I think DFM knew that even if Ebby was focused, it would just be very impactful for them to just start death balling.
And deathballing is what DFM did a little bit slower this time round Initialized. They did have to get a double Baron, but it was still DFM Central Nation.
Yeah, it was. They played the 1-3-1 fairly well. There was the one catch onto Ebby, the one catch onto Seros. So good on Sengoku for not going down without a fight, but it just hit this point eventually where it was just, you find a fantastic shuffle at the end of the game, Irizira is so far behind. He's not even at 2 items. He's not really. He's only got 2 items.
Just got 2 items, and Cirrus was on 3.5 items. So like, that's just the disparity we're talking here.
Yeah, and that was a big problem towards those late game team fights.
And that's all she wrote. DFM still securing all the objectives, almost all objectives in this second game. Still appreciating the leads that they get and playing through their leads effectively at all moments. Gentlemen, 2-0 DFM. Any thoughts going into game 3 before we have our break?
Mental reset for the entirety of Sengoku. You got to chill out. Maybe just try something completely different. You are now at match point, but what you've been trying just doesn't look like Sengoku have got their heads in the game.
No. I want to see probably 1 or 2 things. I want to see either straight comfort or just change the game plan up. Just go something fresh.
Sure.
And I just need to see something a little different.
Okay, little something different. Bit of a reset. Let's see if the team of Sengoku Gaming are able to do that and come in and give us a fiery game 3 to reset this, or will Detonation FocusMe reign supreme? We'll find out after this break. Don't go anywhere.